Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. So, my friends, these are the greatest hits of Pride Month. This has been a Pride Month for the record books. I am most certain of it. Not simply because corporations have came out, as they normally do, and have issued a deluge of emotional support, so-called emotional support to the quote-unquote LGBTQ plus IA community, but because I have never seen a Pride Month in my very young lifetime that has been more vitriolic, more divisive, more passionate, and also more grotesque than this one. Oh yes, I said grotesque. My friends, during this Pride Month, there have been several instances that have deeply disturbed me, have deeply disturbed many people, not because of some sort of knee-jerk emotional reaction, but because of the implications of these separate actions for the continued acceptance of homosexuals in society and the implications of these actions for the preservation of the sanctity of children. I shall explain momentarily, but before I do, if you want to support a philosophy-based message, please be sure to give a like to this video, subscribe to this channel, comment on this video. We plan to give philosophical analysis of politics and current events on this channel. This project is chugging along quite neatly, but if you just want to help out and subscribe and like and comment, that'd be awesome. Now, let's get into the video. So, my friends, I have decided to compile a list of events that have happened this Pride Month that illustrate the two concerns I just posed to you. One of these events, I'm going to divide this into two sections. Events concerning the public more broadly, and events concerning children more specifically. So one of the many controversies over Pride Month, and I'll just start with the worst part first, has been the relationship between Pride Month and children. And particularly the relationship between drag queens and children. Now, the debate between drag queens and children has been happening ever since 2015, 2016, when Michelle T's project Drag Queen Story Hour was launched, and there was debate over that. Although those instances, even though I do not believe that it's appropriate for children, those instances are manifestly different from what we've been seeing during Pride Month. What we've seen during Pride Month is children being dragged to environments that have explicit sexual overtones for quote-unquote family-friendly drag shows. And this leads us to our first greatest hit of Pride Month. This drag show out of Texas, which was called Drag Your Kids to Pride, which featured, actually, you guys see it for yourself. That event was marketed for kids, and as you guys could see, the sign in the back said, "It ain't gonna lick itself." Now, many people were outraged over that, but some folks said, well, they're talking about ice cream. Now, I don't know you, but I don't know any bars that serve ice cream. Let us presume they are talking about ice cream, right? Isn't it a little bit unwise to have such a sexually provocative sign in the backdrop of a act, the drag performances, which tend to be overindulged, outrageous, erratic expressions that are sexually crude? Even these family-friendly drag shows, as seen in this video, these drag queens wear provocative things that give kids improper reference points as to the nature of proper conduct that they should be absorbing at their age. And I did actually a whole video about this that I will be linking in the comment section down below, about how these kids being exposed to this stuff does constitute an improper reference point. But this event was marketed for children, and this is the kind of stuff that was being displayed here. Now, there have been other more even worse events than this. Here is hit number 2 of Pride Month, where this drag queen is doing something quite interesting in front of a crowd of children at a child-friendly drag show. Hit it. Wow. Now, whereas the apologists for drag queens being involved in kids' events might have been able to muster up a specious defense of the previous video, I wonder how you justify that. A grown adult twerking with their buttocks revealed in front of a bunch of kids, and you could see the kids in the peripheral of the camera. That's hit number 2 of Pride Month. There's another event just like this concerning drag queens and kids, where there is this drag queen dancing to Fergalicious, which is an inherently sexual song. I remember listening to it when I was a kid. No kid, and no adult really, should be listening to that song. But this is at a kid-friendly drag queen event. Go. All right, now I could go on and on and on about the different sexually provocative actions and themes that have been thrust in front of children's faces this Pride Month, but I think I would exhaust the point and also assault your senses if I keep showing you these profane images of decadence and degeneracy that has been modeled in front of children. The point is, my friends, that this kind of stuff has all been promoted under the auspices of being accepting of gay people. And so the association has been made in the minds of many people that to be accepting of gay people, you have to also be okay with this kind of exhibitionism in front of the most vulnerable amongst us. And that poses a very serious moral dilemma for people who have a pluralistic attitude, but who also have the proper attitude of wanting to preserve a child's innocence. And I'll get more into that right as the video begins to end. But we have more greatest hits of Pride Month that I gotta show you guys. So, now let's move on to Pride parades. Now, a lot of these Pride parades also included children, but this is the second section. They included the general public as well, but children were also involved. Now, there's been a problem at Pride for a while, that it's been over-sexualized and people there have been indulging in what they call kink. There's been a debate, should there be kink at Pride? Now, I don't think that Pride as it exists right now is conceptually sound or viable, so it shouldn't really happen at all. I've explained that in a different video as well. But let's say it does happen. The last thing there should be is our particular sexual interests reflected by certain individuals that are then conflated with the general idea of being accepting of gay folk. Again, that's not my debate. That's not my world. I don't do any of this stuff. I stick to myself. All I want is a nice man that I can marry one day and get on with my life. I have nothing to do with any of this stuff. That's just my 2 cents. But at Pride, there most certainly is a lot of things that I think is inappropriate for most people, especially children. Here is a video clip of an old man twerking right in front of little kids, probably 3 or 4 years old, in public at the Twin Cities Pride event. Go. Wow. Shamelessly, he looked at the kid and twerked again. And then there's that guy that comes up to him at the end. I have no idea what that was about. Hopefully it was to reprimand him, but I'm not entirely sure. Now, we have at DC Pride, this guy with breasts also walking around, twerking in front of children and people. Go. Okay, fascinating, isn't it? Now we have in Seattle. So I've shown you something from Minnesota, from Washington, D.C., so now Seattle. These are not isolated incidents. This happened all across the country. From Seattle, these naked bikers are riding around at Seattle Pride in front of children. Another hit of Pride Month. Go. All right, guys. So we have a man dancing sexually in front of children. We have a drag queen twerking in front of children with their buttocks showing and flopping around. We've got naked people riding bikes around children. We've got so many different things that assails the innocence of children occurring all in this moment. And yet, there's also a more profound problem. All of this stuff is shielded behind the idea that you're being accepting of gay folk. As I mentioned, my friends, this Pride Month has revealed something that a lot of us need to reckon with in a way that is not atypical of how we typically deal with these issues. Because these are very emotionally charged issues. But it would pay us very well to default to reason and rendering judgment on these issues. Now, before we get to that portion of the video, let us also look at some of the advertisements, particularly one advertisement of Pride Month that I found particularly disturbing. Here is Postmates trying to give people advice. Now, this got a lot of attention earlier this month. Trying to give gay men advice on how to eat right to prepare for their sexual endeavors. Go.
What are you eating this Pride? Well, if you're a top, it seems like you can eat whatever you want. But if you're a bottom, you're expected to starve? Not this Pride. We teamed up with Dr. Evan Goldstein from Bespoke Surgical to bring you a menu of bottom-friendly foods backed by science. Insoluble fiber won't help you feel cute, so avoid things like whole grains, wheat bran, cauliflower, potatoes, legumes. Hold up, are you just fully diving into those beans? The problem with these foods is they don't dissolve in water, which could cause a traffic jam in your digestive system, making a mess of your evening.
Alrighty, guys. I only showed you a snippet of that because I just wanted you to get the sense of it. I did not necessarily want you to have to watch all of that. So, all of these examples that I have pieced together, which I genuinely believe are some of the greatest hits of Pride Month 2022, all of the examples reflect a few key principles. They reflect the desire to justify flagrant hedonism in the name of toleration, confusing a virtue with a vice, and thus deceiving us as to the nature of concepts, and thus not operating on solid ground, and thus not being indicative of truth, and thus not being sound or stable. That's the first principle, hedonism dressed up as virtue. Then the second principle is the continued subversion of childhood innocence in the name of acceptance. So both of these principles, hedonism dressed up as virtue and assailing innocence in the name of acceptance, are both examples of moral relativism. They're both examples of a value system that rests squarely within the mind of a particular individual and whose terms are created in that mind, and they are not subject to correction from the outside world. Once again, a part of the gay political movement is this sort of tendency to subvert what they call heteronormativity. And the project to subvert what they call heteronormativity is a part of the queer theorist project, which is also to subvert heteronormativity by queering it, by basically destroying it. But when you subvert a norm, what happens? When you subvert a norm without any justification, and then you try to introduce new norms, not only do you shock and jar most people who you would presumably, in a pluralistic society, want to convince that your ways are superior, but you also open the door for chaos to seep in because the guardrails have been annihilated by your subversive tendencies. So these two principles, hedonism as virtue and depravity in the name of acceptance, only are possible because Pride Month is indicative of a broader phenomenon which rejects objective truth and, most importantly, rejects the moral agency of the individual, because the moral agency of the individual is based on objective truth. It's based on being able to observe human beings in nature and say, okay, more than any other animal here, more than any other being here, we have the ability to reason, higher intellection, and that ability to reason has led us to create certain things, but that also has led us to understand the fullness of reality, or at least the fullness of the limits of reality. And morality are actions which classify us and restrict us within the bounds of reality, which allow us to respect it. But again, all that goes by the wayside when hedonism comes into play and depravity comes into play, attacking solid ideas that have solid basis in the name of disrupting norms. My friends, gay folks in America and around the world historically have had a hard time. I'm not going to ignore that. There are still gay folks in America that have a hard time. 100%. There are still some gay youth who are not, their family won't accept them. And shame on those people, by the way. If you're one of those people and you consider yourself a fan of mine, you are not. If you will not accept your child, I'm not saying agree, but if you do not accept your child for who they is, regardless of if you agree or not, you are no fan of Christian Watson. Having said that, the struggles faced today do not at all necessitate the flagrant activity, the decadence that we have seen over this Pride Month. Nowhere in the project to accept people on the basis of their individuality is it necessary to have grown men twerking in front of kids, giving them improper reference points. Nowhere in that project is necessary to have drag queens shaking their thongs and their butts flapping around in the faces of kids, clapping like that. Nowhere is that necessary. Only in the minds of people who want to completely and utterly root out norms and replace those norms with their own norms, and then dress up those norms in the garb, veil, and shield of it being indicative of gay acceptance. And so if you reject those norms, if you reject the project of Pride Month, if you reject the decadence, you're rejecting gay people. And that has led to so much hate this Pride Month. How does it lead to so much hate? Because, my friends, the goal I just laid out to you is a collectivist goal. This idea that you can queer ideas, you can subvert norms, you can remake society in the image of homonormativity or destroy heteronormativity. All that is a collectivist goal which does not evaluate the desires and likings and goals of gay people as individuals, but rather evaluates them as an abstract class. Now, it's interesting because the same people who are now saying that gay marriage has led to this kind of stuff, that has led to drag queens twerking in kids' faces, that has led to decadence, that has led to innocents being assaulted, those same people are also collectivists. Now, they're misguided collectivists, because I understand where they're coming from, but they're collectivists as well, because they are also seeing gay folks as this bigger class of people who have created all of this decadence and all of this vice that is going on throughout society. But that's not the case. The case is there has been a class of highly organized, very intelligent people in academia, in media, who have managed to dress the idea of gay acceptance and toleration into all of these unrelated political goals, and they are proceeding forth with their moral relativistic idea, and that is giving a bad name for everybody. My friends, Pride Month, this Pride Month, particularly more than anything else, has seriously injured the cause of individualism. It has seriously injured the cause of all of those gays in the 50s and 60s who simply wanted to live their lives and be left alone. It has now turned those same people, has portrayed those same people as activists, as emissaries of a new future, of a new world. in which everything that is considered normal and proper and justified by reason can be thrown out simply by lived experience and identity. This sort of postmodern hell of the queer theorist projecting itself through the current LGBTQ political movement. And my heart aches. My heart aches so much. But there's a way around this, though. Every gay person in the sound of my voice, and every person who cares about toleration and pluralism, has a very simple solution. Don't paint yourself by your identity. Don't paint yourself by your sexuality. Paint yourself as the dynamic individual that you are. And don't just say that, because a lot of gay conservatives say that, well, I'm an individual. And yet you guys are still the ones that go out and say, well, as a gay man, I think this. No, the moment you say that is the moment you buy in to the identity-based nonsense, which is debasing your character and that has debased your image throughout this Pride Month, wittingly or unwittingly. You have to recognize the natural fact of individuality before any of this can make any sense. And if we respect the individual for who he is, it will not make an ounce of difference if he is gay, straight, lesbian, or whatever, what he does with the consenting adults, because that kind of behavior will not have any bearing on the progression of society, on the progression of life in general. That will simply have a bearing on how that individual conducts his own life. But so long as we embrace collectivism and we continue pushing these collective ideas like gay rights and group rights and all this stuff that comes into that, all these political agendas, the longer that persists, the quicker the downfall of the image of gay folks will persist as well in society. And the downfall of anyone who claims to be for toleration and acceptance. That will persist even faster. If you want the individual to be respected, center him, put him at the forefront, do not leave him behind and try to claim him when his world has already been destroyed by you. Let him preserve his own world. Let everything else fall by the wayside. May there never be another Pride Month like this, where children are subject to things they need not be, where people are forced into uncomfortable positions to justify things in the name of not being intolerant. May there never be. May these opportunistic individuals who have used this month to exploit the sensibilities of kind and loving people, may you as well, at the sound of my voice, may you never succeed in your projects, and may everything you do in accordance to the goal I just stated, may that fail as well. I hope and I pray that it fails. And for all the good people listening to me, I hope and pray you're able to move past this, and I hope and pray you're able to reconceptualize this entire month as nothing more than an expression of a narrow-minded political ideology, nothing to do with good, sane, sober, moral, prudent gay people. Think on it, my friends. I love you guys so much. If you love me, be sure to go to my Patreon, patreon.com/officialcwatson, or go to my PayPal. It's going to be my email in the comment down below. Be sure to comment on this video, like this video, subscribe to this channel, share this video. My friends, again, if you want a philosophy-based talk, then please be sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video. Come to my Discord, interact with me a little bit. I love the interaction, my friends. I love you guys so much, and please, stay offensive.